This grave is for two little brothers, Frank and Charles Ellsworth. As you can see, this is a pretty uniquely designed grave. That's one reason why I couldn't quite figure out my camera angles in this, so this is a little chaotic. When I first saw the stone, I noticed that there were clasped hands at the top, so the fact that it looked like a bed and there were clasped hands made me think that it was a married couple that were buried together. But it's actually two brothers who died a couple weeks apart of diphtheria at the ages of 12 and 10. Their parents were John and Almina Ellsworth. John worked as a contractor and actually won the contract to do some of the sewer systems in Rutland. According to the 1900 census, they had a third child as well who died, but I couldn't find any information about that child. Almina died in 1907 of influenza. John has a stone in this plot with his date of birth, but there is no date of death. Based on census records, I think I found him. After Almina's death, it seems that he moved to DeWitt, New York, to live with a nephew. The nephew was also named Frank, just like John's lost son. If I have the right John Ellsworth, he died in Syracuse, New York in 1910. Because John and Almina lost all three children, they have no descendants. The bed imagery in this grave is actually a pretty common motif in gravestone symbolism from this time and place. If you've ever been to an old New England graveyard, you know that a lot of the graves have a headstone and a footstone. And oftentimes the headstone is shaped like the headboard of a bed, so indicating someone's last resting place. The fact that these brothers are sharing their final resting place is really heartbreaking, but also really sweet. If you can't read it, the text at the bottom says, "Our dear children, Charlie and Frankie." There are also a lot of cool details that are carved throughout this large stone. It's really quite striking. The boys are buried in this cemetery plot with their parents. I'm assuming that John's body was brought from Syracuse back to West Paulet, Vermont, so that he could be buried with his family. But since there was no one really left in the immediate family, John's stone was never updated with his date of death.